Or person, whatever, phone. All right, it's 7:31, so we're going to get started here. James, I'm going to hit the bell and we'll start. Good morning, Rotary. My name is Tom Tobin. Welcome to our Rotary meeting, our regular weekly meeting, dated Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. All right, let's see. Let's get things started here with the invocation in a pinch by Catherine Sines. Thank you, Catherine.
Good morning, Rotarians.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rotarians.
Good morning.
Please bow your heads and pray with me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here you go. Here you go.
Oh, okay.
It's this. Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions and discussions that may affect us and all those around us, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for you in the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory and the service of humanity. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
So I literally asked her to do that 2 minutes ago, and she is always prepared. All right, and look, Dan Filburn, if you'll come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the four-way test.
I think I can do that.
Super.
So let's say the Pledge of Allegiance now. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it bring goodwill and better friendships? 4, will it be laws?
Right.
Okay.
Well done. Well done. What else am I forgetting, Kelly? Is this it? Or am I just... Oh, I'm sorry. We do. We have, before we get to guests, we have birthdays for the month of August. August 2nd, Keith Fears. August 24th, Jim Young. Jim, if you're watching, hope we see you back again soon. August 24th, Mimi Becker, holding at age 39. And August 26th, Bill McClure. Excuse me, a few more here. Catherine Sines, August 27th. And Gail Kalb, August 28th. Wow, we have a lot of August ones. And we also have a few anniversaries. Liz Kowalik has been with us for 9 years. Joe Avella for 17 years. George Snyder, we miss you, George. Get your butt back here. 18 years. Gail Kalb, 1 year. Allison Feaster, we don't see enough of you, 15 years. And Doug McDowell, 8 years. Hi, Allison. I'm going to call you later on. All right. And excuse me, I'm going to sing happy birthday for our birthday folks. So if you'll join me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. And now many more. And now our president, Kelly Brennan.
Thanks, Tom. We have a few announcements from the floor, so let's start with that.
Thank you.
James?
Yep, queuing it up right now. Let's see. Okay, two short announcements. The first, it's also my daughter Carolyn's birthday on the 29th and my daughter Catherine's birthday on the 30th. 7 years. Anyway, two short announcements. One is, I'm co-director of a group called Soccer for All, which has been going on for a long time, over 10 years. And it's for special needs kids. It meets 6 Saturdays in the spring and 6 in the fall. Our next session starts this Saturday. And here you can see some pictures, and what it is we have special needs kids from kindergarten through high school. And we meet at Barlow Field on Saturday at 11, from 11 to 12. And the reason I'm announcing this is that we're always looking for buddies, and we've had some Rotarians who have helped out, Tom Tobin and Patricia Getz and others. And so if you have anyone you know, kids, grandkids, friends who would like to help out, you don't really need to know anything about soccer. We have coaches who will lead everything. Basically, the buddies, as you can see from the central picture, buddy up with the players and just, you know, make sure that they're participating. And if you go to Hudson United under programs, Soccer for All, or just look for Soccer for All, there is a little link here to register as a buddy. So that announcement. The second announcement, 1 second, I want to make sure I'm sharing this screen. Sorry. And share. Oh, looking for sharing. Oh, there we go. Share. Sorry. Okay, and then actually I want to go to Rotary Club of Hudson. There. Okay, if you're familiar with the homepage of the Rotary Club of Hudson, has anyone been there? Maybe one or two? Okay, so at the very bottom, it says links, and it says YouTube. So you go to Rotary Club of Hudson, which is rotaryhudson.org. You click on YouTube, and then that'll take you to the Rotary Club of Hudson YouTube. And on there is every meeting that was recorded. Some of the meetings were recorded. And what happens after the Zoom recording, it goes up on Zoom. And then I guess the job is falling on me, although anyone else would like to do it, you're welcome to do it. I download it from Zoom and upload it here. So this goes back years and years and years. So if you want to see any meeting at all, you just click on the meeting and it's off and running. So those were my two announcements. Thank you very much, Kelly.
Thanks, James. Actually, this started, I'm thankful for James for actually bringing this up. Someone asked me after a couple of meetings ago about YouTube. So I'm calling HCTV. They say they don't do this. I'm asking Noah at the time. He doesn't do it. Thinking, how the devil does this stuff get out on YouTube? Well, there's your answer walking, towards us. James has been doing this for how long, James? Years, right?
Yeah, so actually HCTV had been putting on YouTube, but we've been doing it ourselves for about 3 years.
Maybe when we started Zoom?
3 or 4 years, yeah.
Okay.
So
but we probably need to come up with a process here because no one probably knew this until today as to how it gets there. And that's the important part.
yeah.
No, it's off. You turned yours off. Nope.
Can you hear me now? Okay, so
Just like Verizon.
And you say, voice, it sounds like this. As if you're talking into the mic.
All right, we have another announcement. Coach, if you want to.
Thank you. Testing, testing. Oh, okay. A couple things, a safety announcement. School is starting. The buses are rolling. You might have seen them driving around in the last couple of days, just going through their routes, but they have kids on them now. So please be careful in the school zones. And, you know, again, watch for kids crossing the street and that type of thing. One of the memories that I have of the first day of school was our former superintendent and Rotary member, Jerry Reeves, was zipping between two buildings and hit a 20-mile-an-hour zone at 35 miles an hour and got a ticket on the first. And again, the police force is generally out just to, as a reminder to people to slow down. So make sure you take heed of that. The other thing that's happening on September 14th, we are inducting 6 new members in our Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame for the Hudson Schools. We have a Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame for what people did during their careers, and we have one for a Sports Hall of Fame in alternate years. So this year is Distinguished Alumni. We have 6 people getting in. Jen Ator, who is a sports enthusiast and author, and she is nationally known and has competed in a lot of different events in addition to interviewing top athletes around the world. Tim Klepper, who is a member of our community and also a Hudson grad that is part of the Colic Giving program and is instrumental in a lot of very nice gifts to organizations and things that service our kids. Joe Specia is a former teacher, coach. He only coached swimming, football, wrestling, and track during his career. He went on to become an assistant principal and human resource director. He's now the superintendent up in the Cleveland area. We have Roland Gamble, who is started our, let's say, our swing type of marching band many years ago. He started in 1957, and he and Dean Eshelman, who's also getting inducted, were instrumental in making our band one of the best bands in the land. So we're recognizing both of them. And finally, Dale Noble, who was a Hudson graduate and ended up as a provost at 2 Texas universities, Texas A&M and Texas Christian. And he also was the president of Denison University for 14 years. And again, an outstanding graduate and with a lot of accomplishments in education. So the ceremony is on September 14th. You can register online with the Hudson City Schools Foundation. It's a breakfast and induction ceremony. It costs $20. We start at 8:30 in the morning, that Saturday morning, and with breakfast, and then immediately following will be the induction. And again, if anybody is acquainted with these people or would like to attend, please go to our Hudson City Schools Foundation website. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of things just before we get started. A big thank you, first of all, to Pat Shear for Beer Garden. Seems like months of Tuesdays ago, but it was, well, we're not done, but that starts with you because you organized it. And then I don't think a lot of people realize, but there were people that were there from the very beginning to the very end. One was Sue Carter, who, thank God, because we could never find the knife. Sue knew where everything was at. We had no clue. In lieu, Catherine Signs, while she couldn't be there, she designates, was it your daughter and her husband and granddaughters to be there. And again, there for a long duration, longer than what most of us were there. And I'm going to mess up Tom's name. Unless somebody, Petropolis. That doesn't sound right. Oh, okay. Tom, who's not, Tom used to be a Rotary member and then transferred to Pittsburgh, and so is no longer a Hudson Rotary member. He was there both days from the very beginning to the very end and helping us pack all this stuff up. There's a contribution of somebody who's not even in Rotary and was there. Andy Morse came out 2 days and was there to close for both days. Fantastic. That's how things come together. And I will tell you what. Yes, but I'll tell you what, it was, there were a number of people that caught me days after that recognized Rotary was there. That's the important part is that was a function of Rotary and everybody realized it was a function of Rotary. So applauds to everybody who donated their time. In addition, a thank you to David Basil, oh, there he is, for the picnic last week. He and Mimi got together, put on a fantastic show. There is one note of, there were dishes left over, one of which I have identified, but there's still another kind of, I don't know, looks like a nice dish that somebody left behind. It's sitting in the table when you check in the morning. So if it's your dish, if you want to go get it after today, couldn't tell you where that dish may end up. There is a club meeting the 4th of September. So realize that is a few days after Labor Day. So if I could sort of get a round of hands, is that okay to continue to have that club meeting on that Wednesday, which is next or 2 Wednesdays from now? Or do we want to move it because it's over Labor Day? So those in favor of the 4th, if you raise your hands, because remember, everybody can come. And looks like we'll be seeing each other on the 4th. Is there a foundation meeting then the week following that? The 14th or the 11th? Okay, so 9/11 is a foundation meeting. And then on the 18th is an investment committee meeting. And again, anyone from the club can attend any one of these meetings. And with that, am I introducing you? Who's introducing you? I guess I have the esteemed pleasure of introducing Mr. Shear. Pat Shear, past president, leader of the beer garden. Well, of course, we all know that. Our presentation today is really about the foundation. This is our once a year, maybe more than once a year, I don't know, a quarterly update for the foundation. So sit back, we'll dim the lights, we'll let Pat take over from here.
I'm gonna flip this on and see if let's see if this works. Does that work? All right. Because then I can be a little mobile, which I prefer, especially when I do these kind of presentations. Well, one of the things I was trying to figure out is what do you guys not know about the Hudson Community. We'll talk about the Hudson Community Foundation, but our Rotary Club Foundation and how that fits in with the International Foundation. So James asked me to see if this would work, and it does. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the Rotary International Foundation. How many people are at all familiar with the Rotary International Foundation? Great, then you'll be able to answer all these questions about the Rotary International Foundation. So the Rotary International Foundation was established in 1917 with, well, it was actually started by then the Rotary International president with a gift of $62. So the first gift that went into the Rotary International Foundation was a gift of $62. And since the 1917, Rotary International has spent over $4 billion in the world, trying to improve the world. How does that affect each and every one of us? On our quarterly invoices, there's something called Every Rotarian Every Year. Everybody see that on there? How many of us pay it? Not as many hands. All right. So one of the important things about Every Rotarian Every Year, and we're going to get into that and how this feeds our local district 6630, and then how it allows us to do district grants. That gift of that we give every year stays with the International Foundation for 3 years, and then 50% of whatever funds are donated by Rotarians in District 6630 comes back to District 6630 to distribute in district grants. Does that make sense to everybody? So Rotary International takes that money for 3 years, invests it. That's the part that they keep. And then 50% of the rest of those proceeds come back to the local district for district grants. We've used those district grants for pollinator gardens, for the Rotary cabin, and a number of other projects. So when I'm not being the guru of brats for beer garden or the president of the foundation, I'm also the district grants chairman. And I will tell you that our club is not good at submitting district grants. We probably have 5 to 6 projects every year that we could apply for funding for, and we leave $2,500 on the table. Because that's the maximum grant a club can get is $2,500. All right, so how many things could we do or do in the community with that additional $2,500 if we did a little bit of paperwork? All right, so that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about the International Foundation. Let's talk about District 6630. Right, everybody unfamiliar with District 6630? That's where our district governor is responsible for. Dale is our district governor. So they received 50% of the donor designated funds in the district grants each year. And that's based upon what we gave in E-rate the prior year. Clubs can apply for district grants directly to their district. So on the District 6630 website is the grant application. The only caveat is that true Rotarians need to complete the 2-hour training on grants management in order to be able to apply. Why 2? Because invariably, whoever the grant person that took the training for some reason always tends to have some kind of an emergency or leaves Rotary. So we always want to have 2 people within each club that can help manage that district grant. The Rotary Foundation is we can only use 50% of that money that comes back to us for granting, and then the rest of it goes to other club purposes. The Polio Plus events, all those kind of things, we can designate those monies for other projects, and then our funds can also be used for global grants. In the district right now, there are 3 district global grants that we're using district funds to do. All involve clean water. One in Central America, one in South America, and one in Africa. All sponsored by local clubs within District 6630 who are working with a sister or a brother club in wherever that project is going on to actually get the work done. Make sense to everybody? Our Rotary Club our Rotary of Hudson Foundation. All right, so this is the charitable arm of our Rotary Club. So if you think about it, our club run by Kelly and the board is not a charitable organization. All right, so when we pay our dues to the club for normal club operations, that is not a charitable contribution. When we make gifts for the auction or the funds, the proceeds from the beer garden or our fall fundraiser, those are all charitable contributions. So everything that is a charitable contribution that you make goes through the foundation. Make sense to everybody? All right. In a normal year, we distribute about the same amount of money as that we take in. It's kind of coincidental. No, it's not at all. We try to give away everything that we bring into the foundation on an annual basis. And I'll explain to how we do that. All right. Accumulated surpluses are are invested. We'll talk about that, any surplus that we have at the end of the year, we take back and we invest back into our foundation so that it accumulates. We grow a little bit of a nest egg. That nest egg, by the way, is what kept us alive and kept us being able to do charitable contributions for that 2-year period during COVID. So all those years of surpluses of over what we had distributed had been invested, and the proceeds from those came back so that we could continue to make scholarships and do all the other granting that we do on an annual basis. So that's where it talks about the earnings from these are then used to offset shortfalls in fundraising and special projects. All right, all grants are approved by the club board and the foundation. So that we're actually our club is a little bit unique in this, and there's normally grants just go through your local Rotary Club foundation. Our club and our foundation is a little unique in that, is that all grants are approved by both boards before they're funded. So how it works is our foundation grants committee receives all the grants. They review them to make sure there's something that's within our sphere of influence and it's the right thing to do. They then take them to the Rotary Club board for their approval. And if the Rotary Club board approves them, then they come back to the foundation board for final approval and funding. All right. There's been a lot of misconceptions about that we've given our money to the Hudson Community Foundation. That is not correct. All right. So that all of we're using the Hudson Community Foundation as our foundation back office. All right. So one of the things that became very evident to all of us, especially when we did the cabin campaign, is that we are not good at back office operations. Us as a club, us as a foundation, we're all, for the most part, all volunteers in this process. And we're not good about sending out thank you notes. We're not good about sending out the proper donor correspondence, the contribution statements at the end of the year. All those kind of things that are very important for you people and donors that make charitable contributions. So the Hudson Community Foundation now has that ability to do that work for us. So as we start to move forward into this next Rotary year, like proceeds and those kind of things from the auction, table sponsorships, all of that can go to the Hudson Community Foundation. They will do the thank you notes. They will send out the contribution statements after the end of the event. So all of that is part of a fee that the foundation pays for having them invest our money. That fee actually is about 1 point less than what we were paying when we had in a corporate investment account. So we're paying a little bit less in fees, and we're getting a lot more back office operations than what we ever had before. So so funds are managed for growth and security. So probably security is the first one. Our first priority is we don't want to lose that lump sum of money that we accumulated, but we also know that we got to grow it. Otherwise, there's no point in having it if we're not going to have proceeds and being able to go from it. As of July of this year, the fund has a balance of $264,663.64. I knew somebody was going to ask me that, so I just put it right on the PowerPoint. All right. Now, we are in the process. So when we moved from our Edward Jones account, we were invested at Edward Jones. And when we moved to the Hudson Community Foundation, we had to liquidate a lot of our stock because some stuff was proprietary to Edward Jones and those kind of things. So we have been slowly buying back into the market. So when we moved over there, we had a ton of cash. I shouldn't say a good portion of the portfolio was cash. About 60% of the portfolio was cash. All right. Wasn't a bad time about a year ago to be in interest rates were still pretty good. We were making decent money on money and market kind of stuff. So wasn't a bad time to be in a cash position. So, but now we'll be over this next year, we're going to be slowly buying back into the market until we get to a normal 60-40 portfolio over the next year. All right. Question? If anybody's got a question, raise your hand all the way through here, because this is Bill. Sure. So the question was who's managing the money for us at Hudson Community Foundation. We're allowed to pick our so we pick the funds within the Hudson Community Foundation portfolio that they have managers already established for. So we're buying in, for the most part, index funds, Phil. So we're not overly sophisticated. We're buying pretty basic funds. Does that answer your question? Yep. Okay. And they have an extensive menu of options that we can pick from. So we talk about the back office direct gifts. One of the things that we've been wanting to do, at least in my memory, for the 7+ years that I've been a member of our club, We were never set up for, let's say that somebody like Pat Scher wants to leave a part of my estate to the our Hudson Rotary Foundation. We were not anywhere able to do that on our own. By being as part of the Hudson Community Foundation, we now have the ability to take those kind of gifts and put them into our foundation because they have the background and those kind of things to be able to do those kind of things. The Scout Cabin. All right, let's talk a minute about the Scout Cabin. Kelly always tells us that this was the largest project our club has ever taken on, and it is. All right. But so we've kind of worked out the kinks of how to do those big kind of projects now. So I would challenge the club is what's our next big project? I don't know specifically what that is, but somewhere in Hudson, there's a need for that next big project. What is that? But we now have the backbones operation to be able to handle that, being able to take the contributions, all those kind of things and send. The nice part is we have to start sending things from the Hudson Rotary Foundation to the Hudson Community Foundation address so that they can process all that kind of stuff for us. Excuse me. So last Rotary year, this is our sophisticated budgeting process. All right. So you can see that last year our inflows we made about $3,000 on the beer garden. These numbers are all rounded a little bit and Doug can verify that I've done a little rounding here. The fall fundraiser made about another $3,000. The gala made about $37,000. So we had net proceeds of about $43,000 that we took into the club. Here's how we spent $41,000. We had $4,000 in professional fees. Obviously, because we're a separate foundation, we have to file our own tax returns. We have to do our own audits, all those kind of things. So that, and there were some investment fees and those kind of things in that professional. We had about $2,000 in other expenses. That was grants from the gala. So every year at the gala, we have some specific projects that are part of that. So generally, it's always scholarships, and then the other two, Gift of Life is generally one of the other, and there's a third one. So that's that $25,000 is the grants to those three specific projects, right? Grants to others, so that's the stuff that comes in periodically twice a year through Dave Basil's committee whether it might be $500 grants, $1,000 grants, those kind of was last year. And then for a total of $41,000. So you can see whatever we take in a year is pretty much what we spend. No. Yeah, so it's taking in what we, and then only spending that. There's 436 people that are responsible for that. 435 of them in Congress and one in the White House that's responsible for that responsibility. So, but yeah, so we're pretty good. So a lot of what we have invested, we don't touch during the year. So it's the money that we take in a calendar year, we disperse in that same calendar year. Does that make sense to everybody? So this part of the foundation really runs through the checkbook that Doug keeps. Okay, so we're not taking money from the beer garden, investing that for 30 days. It's all pretty much, that's all just kept in our checkbook, and we just run that through our normal operations for the calendar year. Yeah. Okay, so the question is, how does money get into that investment fund? Okay, so for years as the club, and as much as we can tell, we don't think there was very few direct contributions by donors that were put into the Hudson Community, or not the Hudson Community Foundation, the Hudson Rotary Foundation. Too many Hudsons. All right. So most of that has been proceeds, surpluses from that calendar years that then have been accumulated into that fund. So that that $264,000 is surpluses from the operation of the club or the foundation and over the years and investment earnings that have been gained. Yep. No, not much. Not this year, correct. And in years past, especially the gala surpluses were pretty significant. Doug?
In the several years prior to the pandemic, I can remember sitting down at the end of the fiscal year after all the Gale funds came in. And most recently in 2018, perhaps, writing a check out for $30,000 to that endowment fund. Okay. Then along came the pandemic. And it actually went the other way, because I don't want to get into too much, but once you put monies into the designated fund, if an emergency came up, you can't get it out. So so what we did was we didn't put it into the designated, we used surpluses from the couple years before that to survive the pandemic and to. So that 37,000 inflow you see from the most 2023-24 budget from the gala is significantly less than it would have been in prior pandemic years.
In addition to what Doug said, there were a few years that the club wrote checks, and I think it's Ben here still, not Colton. There was a few years we had surplus in the club budget that went into, John, that went into that fund, but not a lot. Here you go.
So if you go back to the 90s, the late 90s, really that number that Pat is referring to, the 264, that number was very, very small. It really was the club. We collected monies from dues, things of that nature, and we built up the foundation. In the late 90s, the amount of monies that were in the foundation was probably $10,000-$20,000, not a lot.
So you're going to tell a financial planner professionally about this next question, but wouldn't it make sense, and maybe this has been considered and I just don't know, that whatever comes in each year, some percentage of that gets set aside for the future fund, 10%? I don't know what the percentage is, but again, just professionally, I had to ask that question because that's how I'm wired.
Yeah, in that instance, John, we are like the federal government. We spend everything we've got. We can't tax everybody either. So I think that's something that we should take a look at, especially as we start to build back a little bit on some of our fundraising efforts and some of those kind of things, is that maybe we take 10% of our proceeds every year and reinvest that back into.
We've discussed that several times, and I kind of disagree with that. Not kind of, I do disagree with that, because I'm part of Rotary so that we can do service, not so that we can build a bank account. To me. Good point. What does the bank account do for us?
So I can tell you what it's done in the last 3 years. So when we weren't doing fundraising in 2020 and 2021, and we canceled, was it two auctions in a row, the proceeds, so then the net earnings from the funds that had been invested, our unrestricted net assets, if you want to call it, from the non-invested funds had been accumulating. That's what allowed us to continue doing our normal scholarships at normal $41,000 of operations for 2 years in a row. It's kind of we refer to it as our rainy day fund. Could certainly, but that's certainly something that we could take a look at as a foundation.
Stop having fundraisers. Why come to Rotary? That getting fundraisers is what gets us as a group. I mean, the brat sale was a lot of fun, and the game was a lot of fun, but it's camaraderie too. If we get that fun too much, we'll stop doing those things. And that's part of us. That's just my opinion.
I was just going to say, John, it is written, you'd have to ask Allison or people prior to her. It is written that we get to take X percentage off the investments or whatever our needs are. Currently, it's written.
Yep.
Pat, I suspect you're gonna get to this point, but the big obvious thing to me is the surplus from our fundraisers isn't the only money that can go into our endowment, right?
Thank you, Tom.
So do you
Yes.
want to maybe
Yes.
discuss a
So-
little bit about?
Sure. So I will skip ahead 2 slides. What can you do? All right. So what can you do? Thank you, Tom. All right. So one of the things that we need every Rotarian to do is we need you to all actively participate in all of our fundraisers that we do. Whether that's the auction, the beer garden, the fall fundraiser, we need you to actively participate in those. Okay? Actively participating in those can mean different things. You could be myself and Sue Carter and be there every waking minute of the beer garden. Or you could, others, we had other Rotarians that said, I can't make it. Here's $50. Hire a high school kid that can do the grunt work for you to take and do all the stuff that all the lifting and unloading and all those kind of things for you. There's different ways that if you can't be there, that you can still participate and help make the event a success. Leave a planned gift to the Hudson Rotary Foundation. Does everybody know what a planned gift is? All right, obviously John does. It tends to be a non-checkbook gift. All right, so what I mean by a non-checkbook gift is generally it's an end of life. At the end, when you're done with your money, and maybe your spouse is done with your money, where do you want your money to go? There's charitable benefits to sometimes making those kind of contributions earlier. You could make gifts from your donor advised fund. If you have a donor advised fund with Phil, you could make gifts from your donor advised fund to the Hudson Rotary Foundation. There's a number of different ways that you can make direct gifts that then go on to perpetually support projects within Hudson run by your fellow Rotarians. It's not an anonymous committee at some other organization. It's your fellow Rotarians down the road are going to be making decisions on where those funds go. Number 3, bring someone new to Rotary. All right. All of us are responsible for membership. It's not a membership committee that's responsible for, they're the ones to do the paperwork. Each and every one of us, once a quarter, needs to bring somebody new to a Rotary meeting. Need to drag somebody, hey, we got a speaker. I know you're into this topic. Why don't you come with me to Rotary this week? We need to introduce more people to Rotary. Rotary within District 6630 is shrinking. Rich, are you in agreement on that? As the treasurer, it's flat. And it's flat because of 3 clubs. Cleveland, Akron, and Medina Sunrise. If you take those 3 clubs out, all the rest of the clubs in our district are shrinking. Okay, so we have to take it upon ourselves to bring new people to Rotary, because that gives us more people power to do our fundraising efforts and also expands the influence of Rotary. Encourage a Hudson-based nonprofit to apply for grants. Dave, are we inundated with grant requests? Not presently. Okay, pre-COVID, we had a lot more grant requests than we have today. All right, so we actually want more grant requests. So we actually, because right now, pretty much the grants that come in, pretty much all of those are eventually funded. James, James is coming forward to ask a question.
Yeah, sorry. So
Yes.
when someone has a grant request, you know where I'm going with this, we send them to the website.
Yes.
The website currently is not operational to receive grant requests. So could you possibly send around maybe a PDF and an address that it should be sent so that we can, because I know some people who do have grant requests, but I don't want to send them to the website because it'll be
Sure. So we're aware of the issue on the website. We're working to get that link fixed. But yeah, we'll put that, I'll send that to Marilyn probably, and she can include that with the newsletter, set the grant application. Okay. It's also important that we participate every year in every Rotarian every year. If you're an individual like I am, and I hate writing out checks 4 times a year to the club for E-Ray, I do it once a year. I go into Rotary.org and I make one contribution every October of my $100 to E-Ray. And it's easy. You go and you set it up. I do my $100 contribution to E-Ray, and I also do my $100 contribution to polio. So those two, every October, my credit card gets hit for $200. I'm done. So I don't have to do it on the quarterly basis or on the basis with your dues. You can set that up to being able to do that.
By polio, the Rotary.
Rotary International for polio. It's in the polio fund. One to go into every Rotarian every year, and I think the last time I looked, there was 7 or 8 different options of where you can direct your funds within the road online in the platform. So if that's something you prefer to do and do that, you can go and you can set that up. Be happy to walk you through that if that's something that you want to do and get that set up so related to that. And then I think we also have to remember what the Rotary Foundation motto is: doing good in the world. And I think that sums up really truly what Rotary International and our Hudson Rotary Club is all about, is doing some good in the world. So with that and I'm going to go back. Are there any questions about what you can do? Because Tom set me up. I just want to go back, make sure that you guys see what the 24-25 budget is. All right. So Sue and Catherine and I blew the doors off the beer garden budget. So we're going to be, we're still got a couple little things that we're waiting on. One check for a refund on some hot dogs, but we're going to have a net proceed for the beer garden of somewhere between $5,300 to $5,500. That's both. That's the Hudson Art and the beer garden all together. I did not break the two of them out, those two out. All right. So the fall fundraiser is budgeted for 4,000. Marilyn, we raised your ante to 38, but I think that, Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that this past year's gala proceeds? Yes. Okay. All right. So that, and the gala for 38 for a total of 42. And then you notice that you saw our professional fees from the previous year went down. That's one of the main reasons is our move over to the Hudson Community Foundation, and the investment fees are less there than where we were. And a new accounting firm. You woke him up in the corner? Okay, yeah. Would you stop being a treasurer? What's that? We're deficit spending, aren't we? Yeah. I took it off of our treasurer's form. I didn't add it up. They're both 45. They both 45,000, right? They're both 45. Yes. Yeah, they're both 45. So the bottom number is the number that's wrong. All right, we just wanted to see if you guys were awake this morning, and you guys are astute and ready to go to work. All right. So it's a total net budget of 45, of which we're now ahead because of where we are, our first fundraiser out of the fiscal year of the beer garden. All right. Any other questions? Bill? No, none of this is Paul Harris. Now, Phil asked the contributions, your every Rotarian every year does count towards your Paul Harris.
Okay.
And then so I'll use myself as an example, Phil. The $100 that I do for my every Rotarian every year, and my $100 that I do for polio, that $200 does count towards a Paul Harris. So every 5 years, if I did that for 5 years, I would have my Paul Harris fellowship pin for that contribution.
is there any way we could get a listing of where people stand with regard to Paul Harris?
Yes, matter of fact, your club president and a couple of other officers can pull that information up about how many points you have. Because you get points for your contributions. So I'm gonna go back using hold on. So Paul Harris is obviously the founder of Rotary, and for donor recognition of contributions made to the foundation, for every $1,000, you get another recognition. So you can double up 2, 3, 4, 5s. I know Tom and I know Phil, you guys have significant numbers of the Paul Harrises, but that E-Ray and that polio contribution, anything directly to the club foundation does not count towards a Paul Harris.
Sure.
That makes sense?
Yep.
Okay. So those are, but when you make your gifts through the website for Rotary International, for every dollar you contribute, you also get a point. So you get your 200 points for your recognition, but you also get another 200 points that you can then use for recognition of somebody else. So like in the past, when we've presented and given Paul Harris Fellows to people in the community that have done projects, we're using Rotarians points that they've accumulated over a period of time.
If I understand it right, Paul Harris, when a person submits money, let's say put $500 into it, the club matches $500. Is that true?
We do not currently do that.
You're not going to do that? Okay.
We don't have that. We don't have that kind of a bankroll. There are some clubs that do that. They met, when I was in the club the club I was in prior to here, we matched the first, if you put your $100 in, we would match $100 but that was capped at $100. So the idea was then is if you contributed $100 every year in 5 years, you could be a Paul Harris Fellow. But that was a club decision and a foundation decision to do that. Okay, so there's opportunities there where we can emphasize that, certainly. Any other questions? I think we're right at the time. I'll turn the mic back over to Kelly.
Good job.
Okay. Oh, you want this pen? This yours? There was something else I was going to add. Club runner. Just to touch on what Pat was talking about. You'd be shocked at what Club Runner could do for us. So I spent the better part of a couple of days sifting through Club Runner. Now, granted, I actually can't get into a lot of the stuff you think I can. Don't know why. Dale's here next week and maybe he could weigh in on that, but I can't really see things that I think others may be able to see. So there's still some that need to be turned on. But that all being said, Club Runner actually does a lot of stuff for us. And some of the things we're thinking about is, well, dues. Dues are due, and they were due on the 1st of July. But now you can pay your dues 2 different ways. You can pay your dues by check and giving it to Ben, or you can go online and pay your dues. But Club Runner will let you pay your dues online, but not only will it let you do that, it'll keep track of everything you've ever done financially in the club. If you wanted to go back, assume we used it, you wanted to go back 2 or 3 years to see what you paid in dues or anything that you paid relative to the club, it will pull that information up for you and give it to you, which we don't use it. The cost is really small. So some of those things I think we're thinking of turning on. Guys, we're in the 21st century and we're still operating like we're in the 19th. So more to come on a lot of that stuff. But the point I was making is I've only been president since July, and I've heard a lot of conversations since that period of time. And I've been in this club a long time, but never was an officer. And I would caution everyone that we all have issues. I would probably focus more on the things we do and do very well. And that's where I would spend most of my time. The little things will get solved, but they'll take a long time to get solved because they've been around for a long time. So you're not going to be able to just sort of turn the switch relative to your problems, but don't get focused in the challenging stuff. Spend more time in what we do and do well, because trust me, we do much more in the well department, and we should be talking about that, but we don't. We tend to just talk about the daily grind stuff. So focus. But dues are due. I know that Chris said she sent out invoices a couple weeks ago. So did everybody get them? But you shouldn't really have to depend on that invoice unless you don't know what the number is. Why do you need the invoice? And again, that's where this club runner will sort of suffice for you, because you'll always be able to print that out. We just haven't used it. Don't know why. I mean, I can't give you an answer to that, but going forward, all the accounting that will be done within the club can be done within that program, and you can go in and get it anytime you want it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know updates to dues until really the club meeting. That's when, because I think Ben keeps pretty good track of that. Yes, there is a fee to Square Trade for the merchant fee. And there is the same in Club Burner. Now, honestly, Club Burner is larger, the fee, which, it doesn't seem to make any sense, because I assume Club Runner is used by multiple clubs, and somebody could have negotiated a better merchant rate, but is what it is. All right. Any other questions, comments from the floor? Doug, you want to do the microphone thing? You have one too, Doug? You gotta turn it on.
I think it might.
Sorry.
It might be off. I turned it off.
Our big challenge is getting grants in. I mean, and we have the money to give people. So I would highly encourage everybody, because that's what we're here for. Excellent point. We really, really need to get more grants. Because and that's the good news. We've got money to give out to the right, because it seems to have impacted people at right groups. I mean, yeah.
Hey, one of the groups that we do help out, Boy Scout Troop 321. You all should be very proud of them this weekend. Brian Craven is an Eagle Scout prospect, and his Eagle Scout project is to work on rehabilitating the Reinhardt Arboretum at McDowell School, which has a lot of invasive species in it and this and that. And about a dozen Boy Scouts this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, fueled by pizza from Costco, did a tremendous amount of work, along with about 4 dads too. And it was really impressive. So, I mean, they were having a good time, good camaraderie, working hard. You all should be proud of our scouts. So I just wanted to pass that along.
Thanks, Tom. All right, Rotobuck. So we payout this week is $10, and the jackpot is $322. So who wants to pull my winning ticket? You're not in? Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
One jumped up.
got it?
Yeah. Oh, you get the microphone. You better say it on the microphone.
Last 4, 2230. 2230. Madeline. All right. Make sure that there is a black ball. Hey, young lady, you feel lucky? Are lucky, but not lucky enough. Ben here, Ben's not here. Will do. Thanks, Madeline. Yeah. All righty, in closing. These are the useless but important facts you need to know. The inventor of Pringles, anybody know who that is? I'd be shocked if anybody knew because I didn't know. Frederick Bauer, and it was invented in 1966. It's a Procter and Gamble product. He had told his children that he wanted to be buried in a Pringles can. And true story, he died in his 80s. As they were driving to the funeral, the kids stopped at a Walgreens to buy a can of Pringles, and they debated for 15 minutes which variety should we bury him in. They settled on the original. I don't know what all the other varieties would have been. And then, yes, he was then cremated, and the ashes were put in the Pringles tin and buried. Now you know, the next time you chunk into a Pringles, it's going to be a different taste, isn't it? Everybody have a great week.